Imagine standing right at the head of the boardroom table, pitching a new initiative you know will work. You're laying out exactly how this new idea will energize the team and bring the company together. You highlight the culture wins and the positive emotional impact, bringing your full enthusiasm to the table. But the executives just stare back at you. Then they reject the proposal. Your idea was solid, but the failure was a result of a cognitive mismatch. You were operating in an emotional register, while leadership was strictly focused on a logical one. Because these two mindsets are optimized for different goals, your message never actually landed. This is phase 3 of the SAMVAD Masterclass application. We're moving beyond foundational communication to the boardroom, where you can turn a potential rejection into a green light by translating your ideas into the right frequency. To achieve decisive influence with senior leadership, you must replace emotional appeals with two specific tools: the executive frequency and a collaborative strategy known as co-creation. Mastering the executive frequency requires recognizing that senior leaders operate in a highly practical, decision-making register. Their attention is focused elsewhere. When you speak, their brains are actively calculating risk mitigation and strategic outcomes rather than the emotional weight of an idea. The stereotype content model shows that leaders use this framework to instantly evaluate you based on signals of competence and professional efficacy. To pass this filter, you have to lead with logic. For example, if you pitch a solution by saying the team is exhausted and stressed out, you trigger an executive's risk filter. It sounds like a morale issue rather than a strategic one. Instead, you articulate the exact same problem using verifiable criteria. You point to the data, stating that the implementation will reduce overhead costs by 8% and recover lost output hours. When you use the articulate pillar at this level, you replace subjective feelings with the language of costs and benefits. This aligns your message with leadership's existing priorities. Even when your logic is airtight, a pitch can still stall during the feedback phase. This often happens because of a common strategic error, ending the presentation by asking the executives for their opinion. Behavioral science shows that the word opinion triggers an introspective and evaluative state of mind. It invites the listener to step back and hunt for flaws or inconsistencies in what you just said. To manage the vibe pillar effectively, you change the dynamic. Instead of an opinion, you ask for their advice. This simple shift changes the brain's frame from critical evaluation to a collaborative state. It moves the executive from being a judge to being a participant. This leverages the unity principle. Asking for advice recognizes the executive's competence and conceptually links their idea with your idea. You can apply this by asking for advice on the timeline or budget structure. This turns the executive into a co-author of the project. People are significantly more likely to support a project they helped build. By inviting them in, you turn a skeptical listener into a project advocate. Effective leadership communication is a calculated, step-by-step behavioral sequence. This is the SAMVAD loop for the boardroom. First, scan for the executive frequency of costs and benefits. Second, articulate your objective logic. Third, manage the vibe by asking for advice. Combining the logic of costs and benefits with the unity principle creates a shared sense of ownership, making your proposal much more difficult to dismiss. But what happens when you aren't pitching an idea and are instead facing a colleague who is already furious and emotionally flooded? In video 18, we will apply this framework to conflict de-escalation, showing you how to lower the brain's threat threshold and turn workplace anger into alignment. See you there.